Bonjour tout le monde, my name is Gabriel Richard and today I'm here to share with you my experience helping the Borderlands Science project come to life. As a game developer, I hope that by the end of this talk, you come to a better understanding on how the game developers and the scientific community can come together and interact with one another. So, to kick things up, I'd like to say a few words about myself, but I'll be quick about it, I promise.
So, this is me, having a very normal day with some bird. I've been working in the video game industry for the past 13 years now, but most of my education was in science. I actually wanted a career in biology, but I got an opportunity to join a game dev company and, well, by now I'm sure you can guess where I went. But I'm still a major science nerd, and I love every now and then to go back to my old biology school books. So when I received this email, which is in French, apologize, asking people if they were interested in creating a minigame to help science, I hit the reply button as fast as I could, and this was the start of the adventure for me. So, why am I telling you all of this? It's just because there are a lot of people like me in the industry. It just so happens that science is a very popular subject among gamers and game devs alike. This is why I think scientists and game devs can form a natural alliance to help promote and develop citizen science projects. With that out of the way, let's now move on to the actual project. The minigame we created is called Borderlands Science, and it is based on an earlier project of McGill University that we will come back to later. The minigame is a small part of a greater product called Borderlands 3. We decided to integrate our project in that way for two reasons. First, we were already working on Borderlands 3, which wasn't released at the time, so that gives us a time frame to work with. And then, we wanted to leverage the huge fanbase of the franchise to maximize our chances to succeed. However, as you can probably guess from the picture, Borderlands is a unique game, so let's take a look at it first. This is an action game taking place in a colorful sci-fi universe. Up to 4 players can take part in a story-driven campaign filled with memorable allies and humor. The gameplay is intense, with the players shooting their way through a lot of enemies. As they move along, players upgrade and customize their character and weapons. Did I say weapons? Yeah, Borderlands is kind of well known for its gigantic amount of weapons, and finding the best one is part of the game's appeal. The game launched in 2019 and was a hit success, selling more than 5 million copies in the very first week. So, the game does sound fun, but it doesn't look like it lends itself to scientific research. So that's why we had work to do. Here's a very short description of the game structure. Players loot and shoot their way through a level of about 30 to 45 minutes. That's the action phase. They then bring all their loot back to their home base, which happens to be a starship. On this ship, they review their loot, tweak their loadout, and decide on what to do next. That's the preparation phase. We needed to hook ourselves in this structure, so we decided to integrate a minigame in the ship, the preparation phase. Our rationale for this was that if you are waiting for your friends to finish their prep work, you can jump into the minigame and complete a few puzzles while waiting for them. Within that home base, we went ahead and created an arcade cabinet to access the minigame. But now that the players have access to it, we need to give them a reason to play it. That's why we also have to make sure the minigame is well integrated with the systems and narrative of the game. As for systemic integration, first, players want to find new and shiny weapons. This is why we created boosters that are unlocked by playing the minigame, which allow the players to boost their loot, find more money or better weapons, and so on. So they play a few puzzles, activate a booster, and head back into the action. Then, we have the players that love customization. For them, we created exclusive character customization items that unlock upon reaching some milestones in the minigame. And by the way, I hope that you love those retro aesthetics, because I sure do. This also acts as a kind of viral strategy, because if you see your friend's cool new costume and learn that you can have it by playing Borderlands Science, it gives a strong incentive to at least try it. Finally, there are players that love the story. We give them something too. We actually created a small storyline explaining how the arcade cabinet came to be and linked it to one of the franchise's most beloved characters, who happens to be a scientist. This gives an incentive for these players to play through the minigame and interact with the characters that they know and love. So there you have it. This is how we decided to integrate the Borderlands Science minigame into a much broader experience. When discussing with game developers, it is always important to ask about how they plan to integrate such features so it becomes an integral part of the game experience. But even with this strong integration plan, we neglected something really important. We underestimated how much players actually love science. At first, we even tried to keep the amount of science talk to a minimum, but this ended up confusing players. They just didn't understand how this could be helpful at all. And as it turns out, simply helping science was, by itself, a sufficient driving factor. We were lucky enough to catch that during playtests, so we ramped up the science exposure before the game release. But even then, I think we could have done a better job with it. So that was a good learning experience. Remember that even with a strong in-game integration, it is important to also expose players to the underlying science principles. So let's now talk about the actual minigame. Luckily, we didn't start from scratch. As told earlier, the McGill team had already developed a DNA alignment game called Philo. This is what you are seeing right now, and this was our starting point. My job here was to adapt the game to our target audience. For that, we identified a few key points. Puzzles in Philo can take up to 10 minutes to complete. I remember once being stuck on one for more than 20 minutes. I kind of felt bad about it. But if we remember the gameplay structure described earlier, players will stay on their home base for only between 5 to 10 minutes. So we have to offer smaller and shorter puzzles that could be solved in less than a minute. That was made possible with the research team generating puzzles that followed our guidelines. Next, Philo is played in a web browser using a mouse, while Borderlands is mostly played on a console with a controller. This called for a new control scheme, along with a larger UI to make it easier to play on a further away television screen. Also, the actual scoring rules of Philo are pretty complex. Sometimes, it's pretty hard to understand why one move is better than another, which can quickly get confusing. Also, Philo is an optimization problem with no clear win condition, and we needed one for our game to reward our players. And finally, we needed a complete art style makeover to make sure the game fits within the Borderlands franchise. With these objectives in mind, it was time for the real collaboration between game design and science to begin. You see, at first I felt like I couldn't really modify the game at all. I was afraid that each gameplay changes would reduce its scientific value. I was lacking crucial informations that only the research team could provide me. So we organized a lot of in-person meetings. At first, Jérôme and his team really dove deep in the science between Philo and the importance of DNA alignment puzzles. These crash courses were extremely useful to us because we could now design a new minigame with a much better grasp on what we were trying to achieve. This is another key learning. Take the time to sit down with the development team and explain the science behind everything. Game design is a systemic discipline, and we need to understand all the parameters we are playing with. I'll even go one step further. You are all game designers. The best ideas that were put in our minigame actually came from discussions with the research team. You all have a profound understanding of the research and the dataset that we are using, and these insights are invaluable when thinking about game design. So here's another key learning for you. Ask to be included in the brainstorming process. Participate in the game design discussions. This was a key point in our success. But even with all of this, the project wasn't moving as fast as we hoped for. You see, at that time, the development team was also finishing Borderlands 3, which wasn't released yet. And since Borderlands Science was seen as a small side project, it had a very low priority and its development was often postponed. I remember this led to a lot of people back in Gearbox even wondering if the project could actually see the light. Here, Jérôme and his team did a fantastic job. Even when we were working on other things, they kept the ball rolling by coming up with new gameplay ideas, pushing forward the discussion, identifying potential risks, and more. This really helped keep the project light, and even if progress was slow, it was still progress. So that's another key learning. Keep pushing the development team. Development schedules are messy, and having someone behind us keeping the dream alive really help. And there you have it. Look at this beautiful science helping minigame that made it into such an outlandish title completely unrelated to actual science. Borderlands Science was released in April, and the reception was astounding. This surprised everyone. To this day, more than 50 million puzzles were sold, which is way past our original milestone of only 1 million. This brought an unprecedented amount of data to the research project, and this always put a smile on my face when thinking about it. The project also garnered a lot of attention from both the gaming and scientific press. This exposed millions of gamers to the world of citizen science and DNA research. But this also exposed the scientific community to what is possible to achieve when they partner with the video game industry.
So that's it for today. I hope that you found some of this stuff interesting, and if you ever in the future work on a similar project, that some of the information that I gave you will be useful for you. So have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.